Country knows what happened. Hall, 4 other officers, and the police chief were fired last month. This after 2 separate investigations found that Hall engaged in activity and/or shared intimate photos and videos with several male officers. The chief and 2 sergeants were among those implicated. Now Hall and her attorney, Wesley Clark, are suing those 3 supervisors and the city in federal court for civil rights violations.
Maegan wasn't looked at.
See, that's the part that I don't like. This is how these situations are. They're always like this, where it's all fun and games. Let's flirt. Let's send messages back and forth. Let me send you a picture of my booty. Do you deep throat? This is common stuff that happens amongst people whenever they are infatuated with each other. And typically when it comes to women like this, like I said before, a lot of women that do manly jobs are always the biggest freaks for some reason. So it starts off with going back and forth, because when it's all said and done, a woman could just come out and say anything and people are just supposed to believe them. The only downfall about this situation with this young girl, with this young lady, is just that you've already put yourself out there. Your husband's already said that you guys have an open relationship and that you are swingers. So everyone's going to automatically look at her like, hey, you're the one that was provoking it because you and your husbands do this on the side.
Like a rookie cop to be trained and promoted, she was looked at as a piece of meat to be sexualized and exploited.
Since the story broke, Hall,
a piece of meat? Let's get real. Everybody know these type of white girls be giving it up. She's not looked at as a piece of meat if she's the girl sending out photos. You have to realize women need to stop this. You cannot walk, talk, slut, and then be a good girl on the back end. It's just like this. I tell you, this is why rappers end up in jail or dead. Why? Because they speak negative, but they act positive. That's what these type of women are doing. They're talking freaky, but then they want to play good girl when things go wrong and be wondering why they're getting the results that they're getting. Now, with this, she's going to look like, I can tell you right now, ain't nobody going to believe her because she's not even attractive. Now, if she was an attractive blonde, I can tell you right now, it would have probably been some trouble. But being the fact that she's not attractive and the hubby has already said, look, we get down like this. This is what we do. That's the part that's going to hurt her in the long run.
the lone female officer fired and only woman on the second shift, became a target nationwide for sexual jokes and taunting.
I received harassing and threatening messages on my phone.
Everybody knows that when these type of girls get into these situations and she's starting to get attention from powerful men, she starts, especially the powerful black dudes, it seems like these type of white girls gravitate towards them. I'm not being racist, but this is just the norm of what happened. We can say that. They're not looking at her as a piece of meat. She wanted them to look at her as a piece of meat. That's why she was passing photos. She wants the attention. She needs the attention. It wasn't like the guys are just sending it to her. They are exchanging it back and forth. And you have to realize her and her husband were already into group sex. So you're not going to be into group sex and you and your husband are doing these type of things and then you're exchanging photos back and forth with the guys and now all of a sudden you want to get trains ran on you. That's just the norm. We're expecting you to be that way.
The phone daily. I felt like I'd been terrorized.
And yes, now she is suing. No criminal charges have been filed in the case. Hall knows there are those who will say she was a consenting adult who willingly participated in sexual antics in violation of police department policy, and that now she wants to blame others, including one sergeant who targeted her early on.
I know what most people are saying. You know, you could have said no. I get it.
See, this is why you don't shit where you eat, because they're going to try to put it back on you. Royal, you need to pay attention to this. We just got done talking about the Latino girl at your job. You got to watch out for this, because if things don't go down the way that she wanted to go down, she can always play victim. And when you're dealing with a corporate world and you're dealing with a liberal world, they're going to automatically just place her as a victim. But the thing about her, it's not going to work for her. And the reason why it's not going to work for her, because all of her freaky stuff came out after this. The text messages have came out, but the main thing is her husband saying, listen, I'm going to stick by my wife's side because this ain't the first time that she's been ran through. I just wasn't there. I'm normally there whenever she's getting ran through. But for the humiliation, what she's trying to do is she's trying to tap in with the women. She's trying to get the women to look at her differently. And this is the first thing that women do whenever they're back against the wall is they're trying to make a connection with other women. Like, listen, I felt like I had to do this. I felt like I had to do that. I felt like this and I felt like that. Look at Brittany Renner. Now she's talking about, oh, it was because of this and I grew up this way. I grew up that way. I grew up this way. I grew up doing this. They're trying to come up with everything in the world so they're not accountable for happening to deal with the emotion. One thing that guys have to understand is women are so sensitive that they can't even handle the emotional truth because it bears so much on them as mistakes. Accountability hurts a woman because it's embarrassing. Women do not like to be embarrassed. Women do not like to be made fun of. Women do not like to be the butt of a joke.
But my response to them is that I did say no, and he wouldn't take it for an answer. Eventually, I gave in from pressure.
So it's not as easy to say she could have just said no.
She did say no on several occasions. Miss Hall tried to get out of this relationship, and she was not allowed to.
Hall concedes she participated.
Why is all this coming to play? None of the text messages said that. The text messages were saying how she couldn't wait for it to happen, how she wanted it to happen. You got to realize, like, this wasn't no, oh, it just happened to me and then I'm just going to act like it's all cool. Everybody was fine and dandy till people found out.
Participated under duress. She's not saying she was raped, but adds that the salacious details made public of sex on the job put her alone center stage and do not tell the whole story.
They isolated me, they shunned me, they accused me, and they blamed me for becoming a victim.
Hall suffered from depression to the point of considering suicide and at one point was hospitalized. She felt trapped.
My supervisors worked together to take it.
What she's battling is she can't battle the humiliation. When it's all said and done, she feels humiliated that it happened. It makes her look like a slut. But in reality, most of these women out here, they're already doing the same thing that she's doing. People are not really looking at her as a slut. They're just looking at her like, here, try not to play like you're a victim. Like, everything would have been cool as long as you don't play like a victim. If she would have went along with it, I guarantee you everything would have been A-okay. Now that she's trying to pull all these different references and different situations that happen, this is what's making her look like more of a biscuit head, for real, for real.
Advantage of my vulnerabilities and my mental health. And they used it for their gain and sexual pleasure.
And that included the police chief, Chip Davis. The independent investigation found he was aware of what was going on and even received intimate photos and videos of Hall.
Who do you even turn to when the chief of police is sexually harassing you? How could I get justice when the entire system, including the chief, not only condoned such behavior, but participated in it? I was lost and I felt alone.
No, once you start sending photos out, and if I have any women out here that are watching, you may think sending a body pic, breast pic, and watching the man get excited that you send it makes her feel special, makes her feel pretty. This is why women do this. This is why women send out body pics. It's because this is why they sleep with a lot of dudes, is to get comfortable with their body. This is why they're sending pics out, is for the attention. But when that attention goes too far, then it turns into harassment. But she's not realizing you're the one that sent the pictures. It wasn't like people were saying, send us the picture now, or this is going to happen to you. Send us the picture now, or we're going to do this. No, she wasn't blackballed. This was done voluntarily. But it shows you the delusion of people now, because people are pretty much past this. Like, there's no evidence of sex conduct. Like she said, there's no evidence of rape. All she's trying to do now is clean face. And you got to realize, these is niggas. So she gonna chance it. This is why I tell you niggas, you better be careful while you're dealing with these girls, but I don't mess with no white woman. You see, this is what happens to you. This is what Emmett Till died because one just said he said something to her. So you better be careful because they will try to find a way to lock your ass up.
I had no one to turn to, and I had nowhere to go.
Hall now realizes her career in law enforcement is likely over, and she knows those ugly memes on social media will remain forever. Her reputation sullied.
No woman should ever have to endure this type of abuse.
I'm sorry. See, that's why it's not abuse. It's not abuse. Big shout outs to Keandre. He says, I don't see how she's a police officer and a victim. Exactly. I don't see it either because it's not abuse. It's you trying to get attention. You got the attention that you wanted, but everybody else wasn't okay with the attention that you got because you're a police officer. You're supposed to be representing the neighborhood. You're supposed to be protecting the neighborhood. You're not supposed to be out there trying to be a thought box, which goes back and shows you how feminism has ruined women because regardless of what they do with their life, it always reverts back to something sexy. It has something to do with sex. No matter what they do, women are very hyperly sexually active now. They go to work good jobs, and then they go and spend the money on things that's going to make them sexy. Whether it's breasts, whether it's booty, whether it's OnlyFans. So regardless of what women are saying, they are in competition with other girls. And that's what she's realizing. She's the short, fat, funny looking chick that's never had guys that like her, which is why she's with a beta male that deals with the fact that she can go run around. What's killing her is the fact that it's not these police officers because you and your husband was already doing swinger stuff. It's the fact that you can probably leverage the fact that these guys, you're trying to get it to make it look like these guys coerce you into doing that when you were the aggressor in the situation. You got excited when guys like you. You got excited when you was about to get ran through. Like, we see this in pornos. The white girl with like 7 black dudes getting ready to get ran through. But we also see this where in high schools. We see this in college. We see this outside of this. That's what she ain't realizing. Like, we see this happen on a day-to-day basis. And we're seeing a lot of it from women who are so-called independent. You always see the most independent women with the highest sex drive. You shouldn't be getting train ran on you if you were serious about being an independent woman. Why didn't you just go get an OnlyFans account? That's what men are looking at when it comes to these women. What do you want to be respected as? A whore or an independent woman? Why are all the independent women turning into whores and still want to be respected as a lady? That's what's confusing life. This is why men are not dating. This is why men don't want to have kids. This is why men don't want to be in a relationship because the women don't know what they want to be. You want to be strong, independent, or do you want to be a slut? Simple as that. Gizmo is definitely in the building. Orgy King's in the building. I see you guys out there. I got my monitor up here. All right, let's see what else we got. He says, I'm not sure it matters all much to women. It matters all that much to women, though. Yeah, it don't mean that much to women anymore. The women don't care. Most women now, I think everybody is in society is just sexed out. If you ask me, people are at the point now where they're just like, man, I don't even want to think about sex. I don't want to talk about sex. Let me just find a way to be happy with my life. That's where everyone really wants to get to. Get here.
What happened to me during my employment at Laverne's police department, it should never happen to anyone.
Hall now hopes to put what happened to her here at the Laverne PD behind her. She is married and says she has a strong family support system and says that it was her faith that helped carry her through the turmoil.